480 BCE. One of the largest armies in human history was marching toward Greece. The Persian Empire, led by King Xerxes, wanted total domination. Cities surrendered. Nations collapsed. Fear spread across the ancient world. But in a narrow mountain pass called Thermopylae, a small group of warriors made a decision that would echo through history forever. This is the story of the Battle of Thermopylae, the ultimate stand of 300 Spartans. At the beginning of the 5th century BCE, the Persian Empire was the greatest superpower on earth. It stretched across 3 continents, from India to Egypt, and from Central Asia to the Mediterranean Sea. Its kings ruled over millions of people, enormous wealth, and unstoppable armies. King Xerxes I, son of Darius the Great, wanted revenge. Years earlier, his father had failed to conquer Greece after the Persian defeat at Marathon. Xerxes believed this was a humiliation. He wanted not only victory but total domination. He began preparing for war on a scale the world had never seen. Bridges were built across the Hellespont so the Persian army could cross into Europe. Roads were constructed. Supplies were gathered from every corner of the empire. Soldiers came from dozens of nations. Persians, Medes, Egyptians, Babylonians, and many others joined the campaign. Ancient writers claim millions. Modern historians suggest fewer, but still an overwhelming force compared to the Greeks. The goal was simple: destroy Greek resistance forever. But Greece was divided. City-states often fought each other. Sparta, Athens, Corinth, and others had different interests. Unity was rare, yet the memory of Marathon changed everything. The Greeks realized that only cooperation could save them. Sparta, the most powerful military state, agreed to lead the land defense. Athens focused on the navy. Together, they formed an alliance. Their strategy was brilliant. Instead of fighting in open fields where Persian numbers would be overwhelming, they would use geography. They chose narrow locations to neutralize the Persian advantage. One of these places was Thermopylae. The name means hot gates. It was a narrow pass between mountains and the sea, with hot springs nearby. In some places, only a few soldiers could fight at once. This was the perfect battlefield. King Leonidas of Sparta led the defense. He selected 300 Spartan warriors. These were not ordinary soldiers. Spartans were trained from childhood for war. Discipline, courage, and loyalty defined them. But they were not alone. Thousands of Greek allies joined: Thespians, Thebans, Corinthians, and others. In total, around 7,000 Greeks prepared to face the Persian invasion. When Xerxes arrived, he was surprised. He expected surrender. Instead, he found resistance. For several days, he waited. He believed the Greeks would lose courage. They did not. According to legend, Xerxes sent a message demanding the Greeks lay down their weapons. The Spartans replied with 2 words: "Come and take them." The battle began. Wave after wave of Persian soldiers attacked. Archers, infantry, elite immortals, all tried to break the Greek line. But the Greeks used the phalanx. Shields locked, spears extended. Movement was coordinated. Discipline was absolute. The narrow terrain limited Persian numbers. The Greeks pushed them back again and again. The Persian army suffered heavy losses. Even Xerxes' elite immortals failed to break through. For days, the world watched in disbelief. A small army was holding back the greatest empire in history. But the balance would soon change. A local Greek named Ephialtes betrayed the defenders. He showed Xerxes a secret path through the mountains. Persian forces moved to surround the Greeks. Leonidas realized the truth. The position was lost. He dismissed most of the Greek army to preserve their strength for future battles. But he and his Spartans stayed. They were joined by the Thespians and a small number of others who chose not to retreat. They knew they would die, but they believed their sacrifice would give Greece time. On the final day, the Persians attacked from all sides. The Greeks fought with unmatched courage. Spears broke. Swords shattered. They fought with bare hands. Leonidas fell, but the legend was born. The Persians won the battle but suffered heavy losses. More importantly, they lost time. The Greek navy used this delay to prepare. Later that year, the Persians were defeated at Salamis. Soon after, at Plataea, the invasion collapsed. Thermopylae became more than a battle. It became a symbol of courage, sacrifice, and resistance. It proved that freedom sometimes requires ultimate sacrifice. The story spread across the ancient world. Poets and historians wrote about the 300. Monuments were built. Their memory inspired generations. But Thermopylae is not only about heroism, it is about strategy, using terrain, discipline, unity. These lessons are still studied today. It is also about leadership. Leonidas led from the front. He shared the fate of his soldiers. This created trust and loyalty. It also shaped future military culture. The battle raises deep questions. Is sacrifice worth it? What is more important, survival or honor? Every generation faces these dilemmas. Thermopylae shows that even defeat can lead to victory. The Greeks lost the battle but won the war. Their sacrifice united Greece. It gave them confidence. It showed that Persia was not invincible. The psychological impact was enormous. Greek culture flourished afterward. The golden age of Athens followed. Philosophy, science, democracy, and art developed. Without this resistance, history might be very different. Imagine a world where Persia dominated Europe. Greek culture might not have shaped Western civilization. The impact of Thermopylae goes far beyond war. It influenced identity. It influenced politics. It influenced culture. Even today, the battle inspires films, books, and speeches. The idea of standing against impossible odds is universal. Athletes, soldiers, leaders, and ordinary people draw inspiration from this story. The concept of a last stand became part of global culture. But there is also a deeper message: purpose, knowing what you defend. The Spartans fought for their homeland, their values, and their future. This meaning gave them strength. Modern psychology shows the same pattern. People with purpose endure more. They overcome fear. They resist pressure. Thermopylae teaches resilience. It teaches unity. It teaches courage. And these lessons remain timeless. The long-term consequences of Thermopylae also shaped international strategy. Alliances became more important. States learned that cooperation could defeat stronger enemies. This idea influenced later civilizations. Rome, for example, built alliances to expand power. Modern nations also rely on coalitions. The battle also demonstrated the importance of morale. Confidence changes outcomes. When people believe in victory, they fight harder. The Greek victory later in the war was partly psychological. Thermopylae gave them hope. It also changed Persian perception. The Persians realized Greece was not easy to conquer. This influenced their decisions and strategies. Another important aspect is memory. The Greeks preserved this story for centuries. It became part of their identity. Monuments, stories, and traditions kept the memory alive. This strengthened unity. Today, nations still use history to inspire unity. Thermopylae shows how powerful stories can be. The story also reminds us that individuals matter. Ephialtes, a single person, changed the course of the battle. Leonidas, a single leader, changed the course of history. Decisions shape destiny. This is a powerful lesson. Every person has influence. Every decision matters. The battle also shows that geography shapes history. Narrow passes, mountains, and seas influence outcomes. Even modern warfare depends on terrain. Thermopylae is a classic example. The impact of this battle continues today. It reminds us that courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite fear. It reminds us that unity is strength. It reminds us that sacrifice can create the future. And as we continue exploring history, we will see this pattern again. Small forces defeating giants, ideas overcoming power, purpose overcoming fear. The story of Thermopylae is not only ancient, it is eternal. And the question remains, if you stood at that narrow pass, what would you choose? To fight? To flee? Or to sacrifice everything for the future? Let us imagine the final moments at Thermopylae. The sun rising over the mountains, the dust of thousands of marching soldiers, the sound of armor, shields, and war cries echoing across the narrow pass. The Greeks stood in silence knowing the end had come. But fear did not control them. They had trained their entire lives for this moment. Spartan culture valued discipline, endurance, and sacrifice. From childhood, they were taught that the greatest honor was to protect their homeland. This mindset made them different. They did not fight only for survival. They fought for meaning. This psychological strength shocked their enemies. Even the Persians admired their courage. Ancient sources describe how Xerxes watched the battle and was amazed by the resistance. This respect between enemies is another powerful lesson. True strength recognizes strength in others. Thermopylae also transformed how future generations viewed heroism. Heroism was not only victory, heroism was standing firm. This idea influenced literature, philosophy, and culture. It shaped the concept of honor. It influenced knights in medieval Europe. It inspired modern military values. But the story also carries warnings. Blind courage without strategy can lead to destruction. Balance between bravery and intelligence is essential. The Greeks succeeded not only because of courage, but because of planning. They used terrain, alliances, and coordination. This balance between emotion and logic remains essential today, in leadership, business, and life. Another lesson is preparation. Spartan training created resilience. Modern science confirms that preparation reduces fear. The more prepared we are, the more confident we become. This applies to individuals and societies. Thermopylae also shows the importance of unity. Different Greek city-states joined together. Despite differences, they cooperated. This unity saved their civilization. The same principle applies today. Global challenges require cooperation. Climate, economy, security, all demand unity. The ancient lesson remains relevant. The story of Thermopylae also reminds us that history is not predetermined. Small events change outcomes. If the Greeks had not resisted, the Persian advance might have been unstoppable. Time gained at Thermopylae changed strategy. It allowed Athens to prepare the navy. It allowed the decisive victory at Salamis. History is full of such moments. Moments when courage alters destiny. This is why Thermopylae remains powerful. It connects past and present. It reminds us that individuals and small groups matter. The future is shaped by decisions. The narrow pass of Thermopylae is not only a place, it is a symbol of standing for values, a symbol of resisting fear, a symbol of sacrifice for future generations. And as we continue exploring history, we carry this lesson forward. Because every generation faces its own Thermopylae. Every person faces moments of choice. The choice between comfort and courage, between safety and purpose, between fear and action. The Spartans chose action, and their choice changed the world. The legend of Thermopylae also changed how history remembers defeat. Normally, defeat is forgotten. Victors write the story. But Thermopylae became a story of courage, not loss. This shows that meaning can be stronger than outcome. Modern psychology confirms this idea. People remember emotional moments more than factual results. The emotional power of Thermopylae made it immortal. It also influenced modern national identities. Countries around the world use similar stories to inspire unity and strength. This demonstrates the power of narrative. Stories shape societies. They guide values and decisions. Thermopylae is one of the greatest examples. Another important lesson is adaptability. After the battle, the Greeks changed strategy. They focused on naval power. This flexibility led to victory. The ability to learn from defeat is essential. Many successful organizations follow this principle today. Failure becomes feedback. Growth follows adaptation. Thermopylae also reminds us that long-term thinking is powerful. Leonidas did not fight to win the battle. He fought to win the war. This strategic mindset remains essential in modern leadership. Short-term loss can create long-term success. This perspective separates great leaders from average ones. The battle also highlights the importance of communication. The story of the 300 spread across Greece. It motivated resistance. It strengthened morale. This shows that perception influences reality. Today, media and communication play similar roles. Information shapes outcomes. The ancient and modern worlds are connected. The legacy of Thermopylae therefore extends far beyond war. It influences psychology, leadership, and strategy. It reminds us that courage is contagious. When one group stands firm, others follow. This chain reaction can change history. And as we continue this journey through the greatest battles and empires, we see this pattern again and again. Small moments create massive consequences. The stand at Thermopylae is one of the most powerful examples. It reminds us that the future is not controlled only by power. It is shaped by values. It is shaped by courage. It is shaped by decisions. And the final question remains, when your moment comes, will you stand? Thermopylae also represents the universal struggle between freedom and domination. Throughout history, smaller societies have faced larger powers. Sometimes they lost, sometimes they won, but their resistance shaped identity and culture. This pattern continues even today. The battle also shows how values can be stronger than fear. The Spartans believed their example would inspire future generations. And it did. Their sacrifice became timeless. It continues to motivate leaders, soldiers, and ordinary people across the world. The idea of standing firm against impossible odds became a universal symbol. This is why Thermopylae is remembered more than many victories, because it represents the human spirit, the spirit of courage, unity, and purpose. And this spirit continues to shape the world. As long as people face challenges, the story of Thermopylae will remain relevant, because every era needs its heroes, every generation needs its examples, and every person must choose how to respond to adversity. The narrow pass of Thermopylae is therefore not only a historical location, it is a metaphor for the moments when we must decide who we are and what we stand for. The legacy of Leonidas and the 300 reminds us that greatness is not defined by victory, it is defined by courage, and that is why their story will never be forgotten.